All right. Well, sweet. Great.
I'm known for going into things blindly and just kind of be like, okay, we'll see what happens.
All right,
It's
everybody.
worked out for me so far.
Hey, you know what? No complaints. All right, everybody gets a song. So this one's yours. I think you can hear this one. Hold up. CJ! CJ's in the house. There you go.
Love it. I will say you're not the first guy to write a song for me, but it's always nice to like get that playlist added to.
that was yeah, exactly. It's a Spotify playlist for all CJs around. Welcome, Floridians, to another episode of Florida Versus. Today, joining me on the podcast, an old friend, a Floridian, whether he wants to admit it or not, the wonderful, the lovely, the charming CJ. CJ James, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Peter Murph.
Now, CJ, you and I met in Orlando. You're going to the University of Central Florida, and repping the Knights right now. And man, I want to talk about just kind of like the time that was. What was it? 2006 to 2010 or
2006 to 2010. Yeah, I think it was. Oh, what a more innocent time.
And before we get into that, I want to start with plugs up top. CJ, what can you drive our listeners to check out?
Absolutely. I am co-host of a podcast called Bruh Meets World, where we talk about Boy Meets World. Me and my co-hosts are two Black guys who talk about being raised on this very white TV show. But it was very formative. You know, a lot of like what we learned about love and what we learned about friendship was like formative by using that show. And I think that's like the story for a lot of 90s kids, you know. Parents didn't have time to teach us anything. So instead we just watched television and learned a lot. And yeah.
Were you say a latchkey kid?
I was a latchkey kid. I was like the definition of a latchkey kid. And I was like a latchkey kid who also was like with my sister. So I was a latchkey parent.
Oh, no. Your sister is younger?
Yeah, she's 4 years younger than me.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't have that. I mean, my grandparents had retired. So they were pretty much like my grandma worked at the bakery. My grandpa had a job designing pools, but they were always there to like pick me up, and my mom was working. So I had less of that experience, but still.
That's great, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I still watched probably just as much Boy Meets World as you. What are the lessons? There
are plenty of the most important lesson that we've learned is that white boys just get away with a lot. You know, that's definitely something. And that the 90s was not that great for female characters. Like you are either the love interest or can I curse on this?
Yeah, fuck you.
Or a bitch. Like honestly, it's just like there's like bitch of the week every so often.
That's how they were classified?
Bitch of the week.
That's kind of, you know what? To kick it over to another, I guess, sitcom, that was kind of like Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like with Jerry's revolving door of girlfriends?
Absolutely. So it's so funny you say that. I was during that time while watching Boy Meets World, I was the only one of my friends who watched Seinfeld and Friends at the exact same time. So like I got into that stuff really early, and like my sense of humor was like Seinfeld or Friends like at the age of like 10, and no one got my references until I was like 20 and everyone started watching like the box set. And then when everything got put on streaming services, like they really blew up, and I was like, man, like this has been my lifestyle.
yeah, I've been into this. You know what I discovered after the fact? I was aware of those shows, but I really wasn't watching them. The stuff that I was watching was like wrestling, like WWF wrestling.
Yeah. You and every guy I had a crush on.
And like Brink, like all the Disney Channel movies. But the thing that I caught on to, man, must have been about 18 months ago, year and a half ago, Living Single.
Dude, Living Single, like, all right.
Love Sinclair. Yeah.
Sinclair,
exactly.
amazing.
That's
And
my
then
girl.
also Living Single is the type of show where I don't think people know, because I didn't know this until I rewatched it, how much my personality is built on that sitcom. Like
Really?
the
Oh, so you're watching it around the same time, right?
I was watching it around the same time. Again, latchkey kid. I had nothing to do after school
Right.
but like watch television. I watched Living Single, and like I watched it recently because it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the way I pause, the like references I make, like the little one-offs sayings that I'll have are all from that show. And I didn't even know it myself. But I loved Living Single when I was growing up. My mother, she just had like a Queen Latifah's character is Khadijah like personality. So Khadijah reminded me of my mother. My mom's friends had like a Max type friend and a Regine type friend. So like I think I could like identify with it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Another thing about 90s television, this is not what the purpose of this podcast is, so sorry. But
no,
another thing about 90s television that's crazy is me and my co-host often talk about it was like this golden age of Black television. You had all these Black sitcoms. So a lot of people were like, when was the first time you saw yourself on television? I was like, I grew up with it. Like, you know, I grew up with Family Matters and Fresh Prince, and then you had Living Single. Like I had always had this wealth of Black characters to pull from. And it wasn't until I grew up and I realized that it stopped after 2000 and it wasn't really a big thing before the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this was just a really good time to have these characters on television.
So a combination of you listing those shows like Family Matters, which I also watched, and the fact that you're talking about this time period, I'd be remiss if I forgot like the other stuff that I grew up on, which was other than like the wrestling stuff and the Disney Channel movies. I would also watch a ton of Family Matters. I would watch the Jamie Foxx show, which I love. The Wayans Brothers show was
this is what I'm saying.
incredible. Give me a high five. That was terrible. And yeah, there was a time for that. And what was that, all on the WB or the CW?
So,
was that,
okay,
like, the main thing?
I'm gonna give you a little background history.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't listen to my podcast or have never listened before, you should know that almost anything that's pop culture related and fun, I will bring it down with some social justice history. Like I'll give you a little Black history lesson. So anyway, how it works is whenever a network want it to launch, usually they don't have an audience, so they will give creators a little bit of room and space. That's why you get things like Married with Children or The Simpsons from Fox. Like they're able to take a little bit more risk because other established networks won't do so. So Fox and the WB, when they launched, they had a bunch of Black content on them. They got popular because Black people were like making great shows like in Living Color, Living Single, the Jamie Foxx show, Wayans Brothers, all of them helped establish those networks. And then the moment they got a good enough audience to where they were recognizable and team players, they brought in white content, white writers, and then just canceled all of those shows. And that has been the pattern of like creating a network for years on years. You get Black people to come be your base, build your audience enough, and then you slowly bring in white writers, white content, then you get that money and you just forget about the Black people.
And you've seen that pattern multiple times.
They'll tell you about it. Like if you like talk to anyone who's in the TV industry, they're like, yeah, this is what you did.
Dang, even Michigan J. Frog got replaced eventually.
Exactly, right?
Whoever they got dancing around over there now. Well, talking about your childhood, CJ, you and I met when we were in college in Orlando, Florida. It must have been around 2008 or 2009. Now, where are you from originally? Because despite being your friend for all these years, I don't think I know that.
Thank you for asking. No, I was born in Virginia, and I was in Virginia for the first 9 years of my life. Okay. But then my mom moved to Orlando or Kissimmee at the time.
Right.
She moved to Kissimmee, which is right underneath Orlando, and I grew up. I consider Central Florida my home because that's the place that I spent like the majority of my formative years.
I gotta say, age 0 to 9. There's some things that happen there, but like you're not
recording anything.
Yeah, you're not recording anything. There's nothing really. You're not like forming yourself. Maybe, or at least you're not consciously, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that makes you that puts you in that puts you and I in the same category in the sense of born somewhere else and then moved young. Because I think I was like maybe 5 when I moved from New York to Florida. But once that Florida smell gets on you, it's hard to shake off. And Kissimmee. When I think of Kissimmee, I think of obviously Disney World, but there's like a Disney town, wasn't there?
Yeah, Celebration.
Were you very close to Celebration?
I was close to Celebration, and the thing about Celebration.
Would you peek in there? Like, what was the deal with Celebration?
So the thing with Celebration is Disney was like. Everyone who knows Disney knows that they like things to be perfect and kind of like televised and controlled. Right. And so Disney was like, there should be like a town that's just like that, like Main Street, USA. And they created this little, I guess, town region called Celebration. And it was known in Orlando as like the place to go for Halloween. Because those yes. I think their homeowners associations was like the grass has to be this height. You have to participate in holidays.
You have to have a certain income.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every house, they're very particular with what is decorating the house.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
So many bizarre rumors, like a Stepford situation, but also
very Stepford.
Very German World War II. If you're
exactly.
Like Disney, you're stepping over your lines here. You know what I mean? Like,
it's Florida. Florida is an anything goes type state. Like it's just like let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what happens.
But what's that slippery slope? It's like, okay, yeah, we're Disney World. We have this great compound. We have hallways under the ground, so none of the astronaut men interact with the Toy Story characters. Let's build a community. Then what? Then let's have our own Disney nation.
That's exactly what they're going for. I don't know if you've watched Disney Plus, but Disney's plan is to literally take over the globe. And as far as I'm concerned, I think most of America is like, yeah, that's all right. I mean, like the alternative is what? Doing it myself.
As long as I get to live in Mr. Feeney world or land or whatever.
Mr. Feeney land? Yeah.
Feeney Town.
Look
at it right next to Halloween Town.
Exactly.
Another great Disney movie. All right, well, okay. You're a Floridian. I'll just say that. And you had the luxury or the pleasure, I suppose, of not only being a Buccaneers fan and celebrating the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl, but you were also at the game.
Yep.
What was that like? Just take me through everything.
So
what's it all like?
First of all, let's just start getting on the plane. Getting on the plane
from LA.
It's something. Yeah, from LA. It's weird because it's during a pandemic. We have our mask on. We're double masked up. We're very, very nervous. But it's the Super Bowl, and I didn't tell anyone.
You and your boyfriend went. Right?
Me and my boyfriend. My boyfriend works for the Buccaneers.
Oh, cool.
And so he got us invited. We got first class. All of the set up. And so what happens is we're on the flight. And I have been quarantining, distancing, not really seeing anyone. So this is our first time really doing anything this engaging with other people.
Yeah.
But the plane is packed, as packed as it can be.
No.
And everyone's getting on the plane with Bucks gear and stuff. And I'm is this just a Super Bowl bus? It just feels like
this is a party bus?
Yeah, it's a party bus. It feels like that. And sure enough, we get almost everyone on the plane is going to the Super Bowl. And when we get there, it's weird because, the Super Bowl is usually this huge event. The town is supposed to be filled with parties and stuff. Right. And that's just it can't happen. So everything's kind of structured, and there are, what is it called? There was an NFL event experience that was something they set up outdoors. It was really fun. It was really cool to do.
Almost like a Stranger Things drive-through.
Yes. Very similar to that, where it's just it's social distance, it's outside. But that was fun to see. I think it was interesting to go back to Tampa, which again, because I'm Orlando, I call it
Right.
Trampa.
Trampa.
Like there's this whole
Right.
Orlando Tampa rivalry, but like, yeah, to go to Tampa and just see how much they were like willing to ride, and like they were just so happy for
The
like
thing
it to be
is,
there.
yeah, I don't know what the NFL said. They said, "Oh, we'll release 15,000 tickets or 20,000 tickets." But everybody just heard that, or at least I heard that, and I thought, "No, you're not. There's going to be 60,000 people there." You know what I mean? Like,
So
what was it like being inside the stadium
so
on the day?
inside the stadium, inside the day, it's actually like they put cardboard cutouts of people in between the seats so like no one would take it.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, it was actually pretty socially distanced. It was like, I think it was like at 20% capacity.
Okay.
And
Oh,
then
okay.
you have like the cardboard seats in between. The thing that was funny though is like all of the social distancing that you want to do inside the game, outside the game, just crowds, like
Really?
people from all over just coming in. You're like, dudes, like I was like, I felt bad because I'm like, I'm here and I'm having this experience and I'm doing it safely. But like after the game, there was just like crowds of people like
Yeah.
just lining the streets, especially since we won. And I was like, yo, like just mass spreader event. But I
Yeah.
mean, do what you
Oh,
can.
man. Did you make it out unscathed, or did you catch the Rona?
So I was pretty good.
Okay, cool.
Like with the mask and everything, social distancing.
Whew.
There was not a after party. And at that non-after party, I made sure to like keep my distance because you definitely wanted to make sure that you
Right,
weren't
yeah,
like
of
contributing to the numbers, but also it's the Super Bowl. You want to have a good time.
Yeah, man. So, that is to me the tagline, the motto of Florida. You want to make sure you have a good time because it's hard to come to terms with a lot of things that are happening in the air of Florida. The conservative air about things, how involved, churches are, how, shameful a lot of things are, how wild places like Tampa and Daytona can be. It just feels like you got to make sure you have a good time or else it's not worth it putting up with your racist neighbor that still has Trump flags up.
Absolutely. I mean, but the thing about Florida that's crazy is there's like this respect of racism. I don't know how to say it, but it's just like, there's like, we're racist and we're proud, but also we're not dicks. You know what I mean? It's like there's hospitality.
Like it's confused.
It's
confused because it's Florida. And what I mean by that is it's the Yankee South. Somebody from Georgia, somebody from Mississippi, someone from Alabama, all places I've spent time, would say, "Oh yeah, you're racist down in Florida. Look at it. Hold my beer. Watch this." And Mississippi, up until 2020, we had the Confederate flag on our flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what do you do? Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. And speaking of good times, the reason why I asked you to come on the podcast is we met in Orlando. There's so much to be said about the Orlando college bar scene. I just was hoping that you would share some of those good times.
I'm so excited to share good times. A few things.
Please.
One, I want to say that we were just talking about that's related to this. Something that I learned as I grew up and I moved out of the state is that Florida, not the entire state, but especially Central Florida and places like Tampa and Miami, St. Petersburg, like Florida is resort living all the time. Okay. And you don't understand that until you leave because I remember like living in New York and you live in small apartments, everything's cramped and the winters are cold, but then you go to Florida and like a lot of people like leave New York or like someplace in the winter to go to Florida and just experience like space and like be by a pool. Right. And I'm like, that's just like how you grew up. Like everyone I grew up with like knew someone with a pool in their backyard. Like what I would do when I was like 13 is like spend, like, even though I'm black and I didn't need to, I'd spend it like laying by the pool, getting some sun. It's like a lot of things that people do or like people have as goals for like relaxation is just like 24 hours in Florida. And I think that also changes your minds, like your mindset, because like you're living this luxurious lifestyle constantly. So you don't understand like why someone would be angry or like be like you have nothing to be mad about other than racism. I guess it's like it's what I'm saying.
So if you're gonna choose something to be irritated about, it's like, what are all these Hispanics doing around?
Absolutely.
That's so interesting. That's such a great point. I mean, yeah, it is resort living in that it just is so unique compared to any other major city. Like for some reason I feel like a lot of people that I've kept in touch with that have moved out of the state have moved on to big cities that are stark in comparison. Like you just said, you moved from Florida to New York and now you're out in LA. And I moved to LA. Other friends of mine will have moved to Austin, Texas from Florida, have moved to Chicago, like these big metropolis cities. And I guess you just don't want to be there anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the people that do stay, all in all, it's not a terrible way to spend your life, but it's kind of like you're living in a cave staring at a wall when you could just turn around and walk out. You know what I mean?
So what's crazy, one thing, every time I go back to Florida, I think about what you just said, which is that this isn't bad. And when you look at it, you're like, I see all the benefits of Florida living.
You take their side, right? It's I have no problem not owning any pants in my closet.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no problem wearing bright floral colors. I have no problem showing off what little chest hair I have.
Exactly. Like think about all of that. And then for the exact same price that you were paying for like a studio, you could have like a 5-bedroom house. So you think about it from that perspective and you're like, wow, this is really nice. And then someone's like, trans people don't exist. You're like, there's a catch. I forgot there's a catch to all of this.
Yeah, there's always a catch. There's always...
You go to get a public sub and there's someone with like abortion rights, like standing outside or trying to hand you a Bible pamphlet. And you're like, you know what? It's give and take.
You're like, get out of the way. I just want to park my golf cart.
Exactly.
I drove on the interstate to get
and get a Four Loko. Like is that so hard?
I just want to relax. I just want to relax driving on the interstate in my golf cart with a Four Loko.
Is that too much to ask?
Four Lokos. Well, speaking of great times, let's get into the college stuff. First thing, I must have seen you on this day, but when I was in Florida, I was around this time that we knew each other. I was doing like promo stuff and like, you wouldn't call it modeling, but you would call it like promo team. Like we would have the Red Bull girls.
Yeah. Promotional marketing.
Yeah. Promo marketing. Yeah. Like in-person stuff. And there would be the Red Bull girls. And dude, let me tell you, I'll get to my story, but let me tell you, when I was living in this apartment complex called The Lofts. I was living in The Lofts. Where did you live? It was Arden Villas? No,
dude, I think I lived in The Lofts.
No, because, did you?
Yeah, I think I did.
You think you did?
I think I did. Here's the thing. Honestly, I don't, because
you want to make sure you had fun. You had a hell of a time. You don't even remember where you.
Well, I want to make it very clear. A few things. One, the stories that we're about to tell about college. Absolutely, okay. I blacked out on a regular.
Yeah.
And I did not know that blacking out on a regular wasn't like what you were supposed to do when you were drinking. Like,
yeah, nobody no one told us. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm in a hurry.
No one told me that like blackout drunk wasn't like what you're supposed to do. I just thought that was like how a night of drinking ended.
You're not alone in that, and we're not alone in that. And that's just how it was. It's like, hey, let's drink till the lights go off in our heads.
In our heads.
So I'm living in the Lofts. You're living in the Lofts. Anytime the Red Bull girls would be there, and the Red Bull girls would pull up in a very tiny, I guess, modified Mazda Miata with only 2 seats, and the back of the car was gutted out and replaced with just like
cases,
a refrigerator.
Yeah,
with cases and cases and cases and cases of Red Bull.
Yep.
Sugar-free and Tradish.
Of course. Need that sugar-free option.
Exactly. And on top of the car was a giant Red Bull can, like a 6-foot Red Bull can.
Absolutely.
And so these girls would hop out, in tank tops and shorts, and they would have these Red Bull backpacks on, and they would stack them up, and they would, just to get them out of the backpacks, they would like grab out of the other person's backpack, whatever. And they work as a team. Anytime that car pulled up to the lofts, I had this roommate named Mark, and he killed me because he would always do this like very fratty voice. And he would be like, dude, the Red Bull girls are here. The Red Bull girls are here. And I don't know what the hell I was doing in my room, but I was like watching TV or like, I don't know where I was.
It was like
basically, yeah.
Like the ice cream truck has come. Like, absolutely.
He basically sounded a horn. The Red Bull girls are here. And we went running down before they were out of Red Bull. It was so funny. So anyhow, I did a male version of that. I was doing for Sparks. Do you remember Sparks?
Yeah. I did not know you were like you said, not male model, but you were like
well, I did this once, and this is the reason why I was not invited back. So it was for Sparks, and I think it was UCF football versus Tulane or one of those teams. And it was me and a team, and obviously I knew a lot of people that were tailgating, so I had this, the Red Bull girls had tank tops and shorts and Red Bull branded backpacks. And what I had was a XXL t-shirt, whatever pants I wanted to wear, and a duffel bag with like Little John's face on it or something.
Wow.
Just with a ton of that.
How'd that work
Sparks.
for you?
So this is how it worked for me I don't remember when tailgate started, but we started at 10 a.m. We got out there at 10 a.m.
Yep, that's when tailgate started.
Yeah, hit the tailgate tents at 10:30 after there was some team meeting or whatever, and we were all getting paid. Also, big mistake, don't pay before the event. At least wait.
That's terrible. That's a terrible idea. I don't know who thought of that.
You Sparks idiots. So anyhow, got this huge duffel bag of Sparks, which is energy drink alcohol, which is still allowed at the time. I don't know if it is or isn't. I'm walking through. I start to see some friends. I start to see some people I'm acquaintances with. I start to see some people I don't know, tons of them. And I've got this big bag, and I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? You guys want some free Sparks? Yeah, sure, whatever. And I didn't even have to, I was just like handing them out, and I was like, hey, I'll trade you for a beer. Then we started shotgunning beers. Then we started shotgunning Sparks energy drinks, and they were like 16 to 20 ounces of energy and like malt liquor.
Absolutely.
And it ended up with me not meeting back at the base afterwards, after the promo. But that's, I wanted to make sure I had fun.
Absolutely.
While I was working. And, I got to do that stuff like that through college. And I got to do stuff at like ABC Liquor where I was doing wine tasting. And I really became, a workaholic. I wouldn't say alcoholic because I was technically working.
That's good. I love it.
But you were doing those are just the types of situations you would walk into. What could you tell somebody about the UCF tailgate experience?
Let me tell you about, before we even go to the tailgating experience, I need to tell you about the college bars in Florida.
Yeah.
For 2 reasons. One, when I tell this story, most people are like, you have to be making this up. And I was like, no, this is like actually real life.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't know, like people were like, how do these people make money? No idea. It's probably a front for like a drug company. Like it doesn't make sense. When you put it down on paper, it's like, no, none of this makes sense. But there was this place called TD's. TD's. And
was that the 2-story place?
Yes. It was a 2-story place. I think it used to be like Buffalo Wild Wings or something.
Yeah, or like a McDonald's play place, but they took the slide
it was
out.
Something, and then like they converted it into this college bar. So let me tell you, this is how TD's worked. If you went on a Friday before, I think it was like before 5. It was like before 5 or before 4. Don't really remember. It doesn't really matter. But if you went before the cutoff. You could get into the bar for $2. You would get a wristband, and you could drink unlimited beer from 4 to 7. So I would imagine unlimited beer from 4 to 7.
Oh God!
Listening like with a $2 admission. Then wait a minute. At 7 o'clock, it would go from beer to liquor, and then like everything was like dollar liquor,
3 for 1,
3 for 1s, Long Island iced teas from 7 until 11 o'clock at night for $2. And that's what like my friends would do. We would get off of work because like we had like college jobs. We'd get off at like 3, go, or I can say this now because I don't work for them anymore. Or we would let someone go, like take turns going to get your wristband, because you could leave and come back. Again, none of this makes sense. You could leave and come back as long as you had your wristband. And for $2, you could drink all night. Now, they had free pizza from 4 to 7. TDs.
That was their thing, because all these places had similar promos, 3 for 1, $5 top shelf, watered down, whatever.
Exactly.
But TD's was the only place that offered pizza.
You got free pizza, and it was in walking distance, which is also why we did it, because it was like a mile away, and so we could go. But again, I was like, when I got older, I was like, no wonder I like again blacked out until no
wonder we don't remember where we lived
for 2 hours.
We don't remember where we lived now. I'm not sure we even knew where we lived back then.
No, not at all.
Take me home.
For $2, I could drink all night long. And I say this because when I grew up and I went to New York, I went to New York, and I tell this story very often.
How old were you when you were
I was 20? I would have like 22.
Great
22,
time to be in
23.
New York. Great time to be in New York.
Oh, I think New York's a great place for your 20s.
Absolutely.
At least then. I don't know about now, but anyway, I went to like this club with like a coworker and all this other stuff, and they were like, "Hey, my friends really enjoyed you last night, but they were like kind of upset because they kept buying you drinks, so you never bought them any." I was like, "Oh, like I didn't know you were supposed to do that." And he's like, "Oh, so like you just go to bars and don't pay for drinks?" I was like, "Yeah." Like I was so confused. I was like, "No, like I've never paid for alcohol. Like I had a wristband. I don't know what like people just bring me drinks."
Much less. This has nothing to do with you, but just the university system in Florida. Not only were we not getting an education, but we were also not getting any sort of help in reference to social cues.
Nope.
Or how to act around people.
Nope.
Oh man, that is so relatable.
I cannot tell you. I was so confused. I went back to work, and I was like, "Hey, you guys!" I was like hanging out with so and so, and his friends were mad I didn't buy them drinks. Do you guys pay for drinks? And they were like, "Yeah, dude, everyone does." And I was like, "This is so weird."
That is incredible. Do you remember any nights at TD's or any of the bars that stick out to you?
Yeah, so they say that you aren't really like drunk until you've had like a rule named after you. And one time I got so drunk at TD's. Like TD's was like the place that you went before you went to everything else, because of course
right.
It had like before you went to library or as you said, Devaney's or any of those other stuff. You went to TD's because they had the pizza, you get free drinks. So they also used to have pool tables. Yes. And they had the pool tables for people to play during that like happy hour session. Mm-hmm. But because of me, they got rid of the pool tables, and like they did it in stages, because they used to have the pool tables there. But of course, everyone would like put their drinks down, like you're playing beer pong or whatever.
Yeah.
And then one day I got like wasted. This is like early drinking. I just started drinking. Right. I got wasted, but like to the point where I was just like, I'm tired. I need to lay down. I literally like swipe the entire pool table like full of beers, and I crawl on top. I just needed a flat surface to lay down. I crawl on top, and I just lay down and I go to sleep. And because of that, they were like, we can't have these pool tables just like open anymore. Like, and they started putting like plywood down, so you couldn't do that. But yeah, I got a good nap from what I can remember.
So that's so funny. That's so funny. There's no way I was there that night, no. But I remember the back, you know, or the the result of the CJ rule. But later in life, I lived at this place with two other guys, and it was this cool in LA here. This cool apartment. We would always throw this really big Super Bowl party, and you would
yeah.
And I remember pulling a CJ. I mean, that was my time. Like, that was the one weekend where the place would be so clean, and we would throw a massive party, and it would feel like,
it felt. I think that's why I gravitated toward it. I was like, yes, something I recognize. Someone who parties like I remember partying.
And it was this dude named Logan, and we were just like sort of like acquaintances, but he was we were just kind of like, you know, doing a bit where we're like, we got to surf this, we got to surf that, and he goes, dude, I'm gonna surf the bar, because we had a library.
You had like an actual bar.
We had a little library area, but we converted the shelving, instead of books, we just put alcohol, and it was like a bar that was built in this place from the people that had lived there prior to me. It sounds like a frat house, and you know,
it looked like a frat house.
It might have been,
but I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah, but Logan goes, I got to surf this bar, and I'm like, all right. There's over 100 people in this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and they all seemingly just left their beer bottles, their empty beer bottles on the bar. And I go, all right, whoosh, just wipe everything. And he jumped up, and my roommates were like, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? And so he did that. And also there was this other bar you remind me of. It's called, that was called Scoops.
Scoops, yes. Oh, dude.
And I brought a friend. The funny thing about Scoops was it was next to this place called, I think, Mickey's.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was this huge parking lot, which it was like, if every place is closed, we'll go to Scoops, or, you know, go there on like whatever night they had. And Scoops was always, man, Scoops and Library, what I remember is going there and there being at least 2 to 3 inches of just standing water. Just coming out from the bathroom at all times. And everything was painted black because it had to be.
You didn't want to see anything.
No, they just painted right over the mold on the walls. And I walked in, and Scoops, I forget the guy's name, but he was on Survivor, and I think he won Survivor. Not Richard Hatch, but like, you know, another guy. Not the first season, but he won Survivor, and he invested all of his. This was the story. He invested all of his money into Scoops.
Wow!
I brought a friend. Yeah, that was
terrible investment.
Idea.
Terrible investment.
Though I was there when Kimbo Slice got knocked out by Seth Petroselli. We were watching that UFC fight, and Seth Petroselli is from my hometown. I was there with my friend Joey from my hometown. We walk in, and Scoops. How would you describe Scoops?
I don't like. Is there a way to say trash dive nightclub? Like
trash dive nightclub. And what made it nightclubby was there was like 2 bars, and there was like, I think what made it nightclubby was the neon lights.
I was gonna say the neon lights.
Yeah.
It was like everything was black. You'd have like neon, like the neon are like, what is it called? Like laser lights. You'd have that,
and they had a cool dance floor on one side.
Have a cool dance floor. Yep.
Or as cool as it could be. And then
we're measuring everything in Florida standards. Like, trust me, I understand anyone who would actually go there who had like a sense of class would be like, what is this third world country you've taken me to?
Owned by a former reality star.
There is nothing more Florida than that sentence.
Owned by a former reality star. Yeah. And I walked in with my buddy Joey on that night, and there were, you know, the pool tables were not covered, but there had to be maybe 2 to 4 pool tables. And there were 2 to 4 pool tables, and there were 6 to 8 girls dancing on top of the pool table
Yeah.
of each pool table.
Mhm.
Just they weren't go-go dancers or anything. They were just,
No,
hey,
just
I want
drunk
to
girls.
dance.
Yeah.
I want to dance on an elevated surface. And we walk in and my buddy Joey looks up at them and he's like, oh my God. Like I had to put his jaw, I had to pick his jaw off the floor. It was so funny. It was
Yeah, we used to
absolutely-
have people like kids come from out of town to party in Orlando.
Yeah.
Because like now that I'm older and I see how other people live, I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is like the Wild West. Like
Yeah.
no, like 90% of what happened was like illegal activity. Like none of it could be legal. No one was of age. No one was like doing what they're supposed to do. I'm like regulations just thrown out the window.
I want to end with a fun tailgate party story because my time in Orlando was measured by the tailgate. And now let me know if you this is similar to you. I want to end with this, but before that, I want to go to just remember any of the specials that we had. Like I remember there was like always ladies night. There was always like 3 for 1s, right?
Yeah.
There were, $2, like you said, $2 buy a wristband, drink, all night. There was, there was like buy a shot.
I'm telling you right now, you're talking to the wrong person. It wasn't until 23 that I realized that you had to pay for liquor. Anyway,
what were some of the other, because like some of the other bars had other really fun what was it, like specials? What were the
well, yeah, because you would also go like, I don't know about like we would like party in Orlando or like in like the central or college area, but then like you'd also drive. No one should have been driving, but you would drive to downtown and then like party downtown on Church Street. So like there were all of those bars down there as well. And so like
once you turned 21 and stopped going to the college bars, then it was like, oh, downtown's open for me.
And that was like such a big moment. I remember like the bouncers and I were like, it was like counting down the days.
One thing I remember at downtown in this, at this place called Latitudes, and also
Latitudes.
Also on the college side was you would buy like a pitcher, but for yourself.
That's what all right. So this is what I'm talking about. Like the very first time I blacked out, and I know it seems like I drank excessively in college, and that's because I did.
Every day I'm telling people, I'm like, I don't know how many concussions I've had.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know if that's not normal. It's like that ringing's supposed to be in my ear, right? It's been there. But anyway, the very first time I blacked out, it was because I met this dude. I don't know if it's apparent yet. It should be. I'm gay. I've been out since I was like 19 in college. I was like, to be fair, I was like one of like the only out gay kids or whatever. But like, and most of the time I would just go to straight bars. But I was at TD's.
Okay.
I met this dude came in who I thought was cute and I would talk to. That's honestly how I met most of my friends. I'm just like, you're a cute guy. I'm going to talk to you. Let's see what happens. I'm honored. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say, to be fair, that's exactly what happened with you. I was like, that dude's cute. I'm going to talk to him. And like, usually I was like, oh, you're a cool dude. You're not gay and that can't go anywhere, but that doesn't mean we can't party. Sure. And that's my version of gay. I don't know how everyone else felt. But anyway, so
there are many shades in the rainbow.
Yeah. I met this dude. He had a picture of the Long Island iced tea, like a picture. And he was like, hey, man, he was like, I don't like this. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah. Again, I never paid for liquor, didn't know this. So he was like, I bought this picture, didn't want it. Do you? And I was like, yeah. And I go back to my friends. I was like, hey, I got a picture of Long Island iced tea. This dude gave it to me. And they're like, oh, we don't want it. I was like, well, I'll drink it. And I chugged this picture,
but they
so it
had
wouldn't
like
go to waste.
Single person pictures.
Exactly.
Like, that was the thing. It's okay. $3 pictures of Long Island iced teas, and I don't know what we thought was happening in Long Island or why it was named this. It was just like a alcohol suicide. Vodka, rum, Coca-Cola. We're just hitting everything, and I remember I remember something very similar. I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'll go. I'll get a picture, whatever. Like that was the promo. Like, why not? So I go. I meet some friends there, and like I walk in. I think this must have been library. Walk into the library bar, cleverly named. Walk into the bar. I see my friends 20 feet away. I'm like, hey, what's up? Wave at them, and then I told them I'm going to the bar before I meet up with them and officially say what's up. And so there were, I was lucky to like the sea for the fact that like the seas parted and I was able to get up to the bar, within like 3 or 4 minutes. And as a guy, that was tough.
That's like good on you. I'm tall, so I'm able to do it, but like,
did you have a get to the front of the bar strategy?
Well, so like, again, I'm large. So my strategy was always to like very kindly, but also like just make my way. Like my presence kind of like forced people to move to the side. Every once in a while you'd get like some short guy who's like, I'm not moving. Right. Like for the most part.
Yeah. My strategy would always like be try and go to the corners, and I would end up going to always end up going into a spot. I was like, oh, this is open. But then the bartender wouldn't go to that spot for like minutes. So anyhow, I get up to the front that night. And they were like, hey, and the bartender, she was really cool. She was like, hey, we're doing this special, like, $3 pitcher or whatever. And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. Here's my card. Just keep it open there. She was like, okay, great. And I get a pitcher, the Long Island iced tea. It's blue as hell, like a fucking Smurf.
yeah.
And they throw a straw in there, just one straw, because they know what the deal is. And I walk back to my friends who I seen from across the bar, and I'm like, guys, did you guys know that it was $3 Long Island iced teas? And they all had their backs to me, and I was like, hey, what's up? And then when they turned around, I was like, hey, do you know about this special? They all turned around and were holding their own pitchers.
Yes,
so
exactly.
There were 6 of us, and everybody had their own pitcher, and it was a pitcher. It was like 30 ounces, 32 ounces, 60. I don't know.
And so the idea that we blacked out only makes sense. It's just like logic. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. Like it's
only one conclusion. Yeah, exactly.
And what's crazy to me that I remember is like, especially when I tell these stories, is the fact that like I'm 6'4", 200 plus pounds. So like for me, these things would take me down. So when I realized like how alcohol worked and like body mass and all, and when I realized there would be like 97-pound girls drinking the exact same amount, I'm like, yo, this was dangerous. This is like this is absolutely like neglect. I don't know how else to put it.
It was reckless.
It's child endangerment. Like to let a 21-year-old 97-pound girl chug a pitcher of Long Island iced teas is it's neglectful.
Do you ever go back? Have you ever been back to those college bars?
So the thing about it is like, you never want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in college and being that guy or seeing that guy. You never want to be that guy.
Oh, I know.
And then when I went back, like I went back for a tailgate, like a UCF game, you go back for a tailgate and you realize you're like, this isn't me anymore. Like this isn't for me anymore. This is your time. Do you? I'm still gonna drink. I'm still gonna have fun, but I can't do it to the level that you are. But like for me, I'm like, Godspeed. Enjoy this time.
Well, bringing it back to the tailgates, I think the tailgate in Orlando in UCF was the coming of age tell for everybody.
Yeah.
First tailgate that I went to, I'm wearing. I remember exactly what I was wearing because I wore this type of stuff all the time. But I was wearing like some kind of like shelled necklace. I had an Abercrombie shirt on.
Yep. All of these things track.
Ripped Express jeans. And then
I would have worn some khaki shorts with pockets, but I get where you're going.
Some kind of like white Puma tennis shoe. But by the end, and then, I show up and all my friends are like, what the fuck are you wearing? Like, dude, we're at a tailgate here. But by the end, God, what was I wearing? I must have been wearing like cargo shorts just so that I could carry more Four Locos.
Yeah, exactly. Like your pocket. That's what the pockets were for.
Like a shirt, like a tank top or a shirt with sleeves that I would rip the sleeves off of mid tailgate.
Yep.
That was always a fun move. And like flip flops or no shoes or I don't know, slip on shoes or something like that. And that was like that. That happened. It was kind of like the way that the Hulk transformed from Bruce Banner.
Absolutely.
Over from the first tailgate to maybe the second or third to, the 100th or whatever, how many ever you get to go to. You transform into your Florida version of you. And that's
the Florida version of like, I just want to say,
you evolve.
I think the thing about Florida is this ability to kind of live freely. Like, again, there's racism and there's, sexism and all of that other homophobia, but you're able to like live harmoniously in a way that like it's, how do I say this, in New York, when I first moved to New York, I was like, wait a minute, this racism is completely different because like
it's suppressed.
Well, yeah, it's like it's under the surface. Whereas in Florida, they're like, I'm racist. I don't like you because you're black, but here's a Four Loko. Like that's how it works. In New York, it's like, oh hey, we're so sorry. There's reservations. We can't really like let you in right now.
Sorry. No Jordans in this.
Yeah.
You're not. Like, you can't wear jeans. You can't wear hats. You can't wear.
Your hair's a little too curly for what we're going for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. Like it's very under the surface. You're like, I feel like this is weird. I feel like I got turned away for a reason, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But also I see a black guy in there, so it can't be because of racism, but you don't know that they hired that black guy to just be inside. You know, like there's that kind of situations. Whereas in Florida, they're just straight up like, oh, by the way, my grandmother doesn't like gay people. Just going to let you know that before you walk into the house. Like I've had that happen to me where they're like, by the way, you're not black. This is your backstory. Just like, you're like,
what the hell am I supposed to do? Put this sheet over your face.
No, it's very like, I remember I had a friend whose parents were like, hey, I went to his parents' house and he was like, hey, my parents don't like black people. You're not black. You're Hispanic. This is your backstory. Just remember it. And you're like, okay, cool. And you go inside the house and you like chill. But like, that's what you grow up with, which is why when you leave, you're like, oh shit, that was a racist ass town.
Yeah. I mean,
some good drinks though, some good times. But
as a black man growing up in Florida and saying you are aware of this level of freedom or the freedom that Florida affords you, what was that what was that for you, and how could you describe that compared to the fact that the racism is apparent and blatant,
Well, I think that for me, and again, I wouldn't do it now.
Freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think there's like an authenticity to it. Like I say, I tell this all the time.
A genuine racism?
Well, yeah, it's a genuine, and it's racism is still racism. You hate it no matter in what form. But I think I respect it more because you're literally living your beliefs. There are people who will tell you that they care about black people and then like vote to, raise taxes on poor individuals or like know that there's a food desert and want to do nothing about it. Like there's like people who are just like aware of these things, of systematic racism in like liberal states like California, and they know what's going on, but they'll put a Black Lives Matter sticker on their car. Whereas in Florida, if you don't believe Black Lives Matter, you have no qualm saying that. It's like you don't feel like you need to be polite. You like Jesus. Like the number of white guys who I've had come up to me and explain to me why they feel like they should be able to say the N-word. It's like that's kind of like the audacity you're dealing with in Florida. And it's horrible, but at least for me, I'm like, I respect it because I can identify. It's easy to identify and it's very easy to like I don't know, like seclude or like put it like be like why are we not speaking to Johnny? Well, Johnny blatantly is racist and he absolutely said, I don't like Jews. So like I can like that's why we don't hang out with Johnny anymore. Whereas
and they wear it.
And they wear it. Whereas in California or New York or other like liberal places, you'll be like, I feel like that was anti-Semitic. I can't quite prove it. I don't like I don't think he has any Jewish friends. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, yeah.
You just start to like.
I'd like to narrow down and just whittle away at what the specific version of liberalism is in Florida, or what they believe it is. But I'm getting closer to discovering it, and through your help, I can kind of see it through a different perspective now, and it's definitely its own shade. And maybe it isn't.
How did you experience it? Because I'm Black, and I had again, I can remember, I'm Black and gay. I remember very distinct stereotypes of Blackness and gayness that I was even people assumed or I had to deal with. But again, because it was so blatant and you're like, oh shit, this is racism, I know how to act or behave and respond to it. How did you deal with it? Because you are biracial and you also lived in Florida, and in Florida, you're either Black, white, or Spanish. They don't care about anything in between.
Yeah, I really didn't have those conversations because, my dad is Puerto Rican and I didn't grow up around him. I grew up around my mom, who's, Irish and white, and my grandparents were the same. So growing up in Florida, a lot of people were just would see me with my grandpa or see me with my mom or my grandma, and they would just look at me and be like, huh, he must be out in the sun a lot.
Well, it is Florida, so
yeah, it's oh, you're really tan.
Get that kid some sunblock.
Yeah, in health class, I remember the teacher saying, oh, I've had to get all these moles removed because I used to go to the beach all the time, and she was staring a hole at me, in my head, and she was like, she didn't talk to me afterwards, but it was very apparent, Peter, you're getting a lot of sun. Not this kid's biracial or mixed race. And also my last name is Murphy, so I didn't experience it in the same way, and people didn't assume it in the same way. And honestly, not until my late 20s did I really even discover that I was Puerto Rican, because not growing up with my dad, I didn't know anything about him. And I asked questions, but it was never obvious. Then I met my dad eventually, and it became obvious, and I had certain tendencies that he had and stuff like that. But no, I didn't. Everyone was just quietly curious, or they would say, "Oh yeah, you're pretty tan, Peter." Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that, because one thing that I remember, two things is, one, when I was in high school, I had a chemistry teacher that was teaching us about solutions and stuff, and he's like, this stuff is so strong it'll turn a Black person white. Hey CJ, can we test it on you? Again, that's the kind of racism I grew up with. But you didn't know it. You were like, oh, that was an uncomfortable moment. I think as you said, it's right. What I've learned are a lot of people. I read something the other day that it's you grow up to realize that they don't like Black people, they like you. And I think that's something that's very true about Florida and the South. It's that you'll have white friends or stuff, and you're like, how can you be? They'll say, how can I be racist? I have a friend like CJ or a friend like Peter, and you're like, oh, but you don't respect my race. What you're doing is you're like, I'm gonna ignore all of those things, and I'm gonna just focus on you as an individual. And it's all right, no, do that, but on a larger scale. It's
yeah,
expand it. And I think that's why you and me, I said the same thing. It wasn't until I moved to New York that I had to really learn what it meant to be Black, because in Orlando, you get to know the individuals. It's if I don't like you and I'm not going to get to know you, sorry, if I'm racist, I'm not going to get to know you at all. That's that wall is there. I don't have any interaction with you. But if I'm choosing to look beyond it, then you wouldn't know any different. I'm not going to treat you any differently.
Yeah, I almost feel like there were other instances of selected ignorance where they would say, like you were mentioning, oh, well, I'm cool with CJ, but these people I don't like. But
exactly.
I'm cool with CJ because I know CJ. It's CJ,
Exactly.
But here's the problem with the blacks.
Yes.
You know,
What the
sucks.
number of like family dinners I've been sat at in Florida where other people's houses and they're like, CJ, why are black people this way? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Good question. Like, but again, I grew up and I left and I was like, oh, that was a terrible environment. Like but you don't know it. You know, it's kind of like, what's that whole thing? It's like,
you don't know
fish in water.
Yeah.
You know, you don't understand that, like, oh shit, there's water all around me. For you, it's just like the air you breathe, just like the humidity in Florida. Like I'll say that's a very good analogy. The racism in Florida is very much like the humidity. It's like you didn't know it when you grew up in it, but once you leave and come back, you're like, oh shit, this is what people were talking about? Yeah, no, it's there. It's apparent.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Before we get out of here, any fun, interesting tailgate stories that
I once one time at a tailgate, like because you've been at a Florida tailgate, there's lots of drinking, but there's very little food. Like you can get free drinks anywhere.
Right.
Food is hard to come by.
People, the cooler's open, but the grill is
the grill is like closed off. And so one time I remember this like campaign, like get rid of the governor or whatever. I don't remember what it was.
Right.
But they were like, they had burgers and it was like, you could get a burger if you signed their petition. And I didn't want to sign their petition, but I did want a burger. Yeah. So I spent like 30 minutes drunk lying, like just talking about the mayor and being like, I don't even remember what I said. But for 30 minutes, I waited for that burger to be done. And I just like lied to these people. And what's funny is like in retrospect, these people knew I was lying. Like, it's like, cause I'm a terrible liar, especially when drunk, but they were like, this dude's charismatic and funny. So like, let's just see where it goes.
Also terrible grillers to fucking take 30 minutes for a burger.
I think someone, like had to go get I was like there from setup is what I'm saying. Like they we have to put the grill together, add the coal, wait for it to heat up. And I was like, yo, I got nowhere else to be.
Man, even to this day, I have more patience for free things than ever. If something's free, I'll give it a shot. I'll take it.
That's so terrible. That's so American.
It is. Drinks, burgers,
the number of things we will do. Again, like all of this is very college style. Do you remember? God. Oh, I didn't. I just remembered. Thank you so much. I didn't live in the Lost. I lived in the Gatherings.
The Gatherings, and I also lived in the Gatherings.
You lived in the Gatherings. That's you and I
lived in the Gatherings after the Lofts. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I visited you in the Lost. I remember that. But I lived in the Gatherings, and if you remember, there was a Taco Bell like right across the street from the Gatherings.
Of course.
Exactly, right? And I just like one of the other things is like Taco Bell is something like I can't eat sober because my body is like, no, this is drunk food.
Yeah.
And like it's because for years we would get the level of wasted that we talked about.
Yeah.
And then someone would be like, I'm going to Taco Bell. And you would get like a car full of people.
Oh, those poor
I cannot tell you the number of times where you would be like, I'm going to Taco Bell. Or sorry, I need a ride to Taco Bell. I will buy everyone in the car something if I could just go to Taco Bell. And then you would like cram like 10 people in a car. You'd go to Taco Bell, which is open till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And you would just order like $40 worth of, well, actually it was Taco Bell. So like now like $20 worth of food. But like,
yeah, $20 worth of food for.
And then you just wake up in the morning and there's like a half a box of like, what was that little to-go pack they used to have?
Like yeah. It was in like a box or something like that.
You'd be like a chalupa, like on the table.
When I would throw parties with Mark, this guy that would always sound the Red Bull alarm. Yeah. Oh, those girls couldn't have been from Orlando too. They had to have shipped in other promo because any girl that's smart in Orlando wouldn't have signed up for that. But he would be like, let's throw a party. And I'd be like, all right, well, let me go. I'll grab a beer or like, some beer and stuff. He'd be like, all right, I'm going to go get Little Caesars. He would get 3.
Oh, the pizzas. Yes.
Yeah, just ready to go. It's like, all right, great. You do that.
Absolutely.
Always fun. Well, dude, CJ, thanks so much for walking us through that period of Orlando. I'll definitely have to have you back on another time to talk about other elements, but I appreciate having you on the program.
Thanks for having me. I just want to say, after all I've said, drink responsibly. Like that's like I'm letting you know this because I've learned the hard way. Drink responsibly.
To me, drinking responsibly is drinking as much as I can, but not having any awareness of where my keys are.
So drinking,
or my cell phone, cell phone.
Oh, dude, we used to do that. You used to like hide my keys, hide my wallet from me. Like you would do that, like absolutely. That, and then also, like when I say drink responsibly, I mean like I would go just to the precipice of being blacked out and be like, okay, now I'm gonna have a glass of water. Like that's what I mean by drink responsibly. Like get shit faced, but then also like hydrate.
There's a lot of in all the shades of racism that we've talked about and all the shades of liberalism that we've talked about, there's also a ton of shades of responsibility.
Exactly.
So, just whatever version of responsible you practice, make sure you practice it.
Absolutely.
All right, CJ, well, thanks for joining me. Floridians, thanks for listening again. I'll talk to you next time.